All right, everyone, welcome back into another fantasy golf video. Going to be breaking down all the top picks and plays here for the Worldwide Technology Championship. Now, guys, just a quick apology for coming out with this video a little bit later than I typically would. I am working on updating kind of the video style, if you will, of how I present the golf coverage for you guys. It's going to look more like kind of the OG days. I'm kind of going back to that. So that should be up for the next tournament. But again, I'm working on that, so apologies for the video being out a little bit later. I was hoping to get that done before I came out with this video. That is not the case. But let's go ahead and get into this week. So one of the biggest things that we need to look at for this week is kind of the course history. And for course history, the biggest thing that we're going to be looking at is last year's results because, well, last year was the first year in which this tournament was played at this new course designed by Tiger Woods. I still do want to be looking at some of the results from golfers in the previous tournaments that took place in Mexico because just the travel and kind of the nuance with going to Mexico, I did kind of want to look at that still. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're like good comp courses, but at the same time, in a weird way, it's nice to see like players that travel well. Let's say like Matt Kuchar, for instance, like second place last year at the tournament and then 27th and 22nd. He has played well in Mexico in the past. So that's just like kind of the cherry on top that I'm looking at. But for the most part, we don't really care about course history too much. And that's also going to be the same when we're looking at something like StatFit because we do not have that proper sample size that we would like to have. And when we look at some golfers that have like the full season stats, we're going to notice Keith Mitchell, still one of the better stat fits. Jonathan Vegas, one of the better stat fits. Doug Gim is a player that I really like. I think we're going to be looking at him. Harry Hall is popping up. Tom Hoagie, Henrik Norlander. So there are a lot of good kind of stat fits that are popping up. But we know like Keith Mitchell, Jonathan Vegas, those are two players that are both more hit or miss. So that does worry me slightly. We go ahead and get into the golfers that are in the best recent form. I think this is probably the one thing that we should be looking at the most or putting the most concentration on. Max Grayserman has just been a stud. With Max Grayserman having multiple runner-up finishes here. And so he is the highest priced player on the slate. But to me, kind of the overall message that I think for this slate should be that there's no real like top player that we need to be paying up for. There just isn't. There's a few quality players that we can pay up for, kind of feel good about. You could include him in there with that form that he's been playing well with, but that's kind of a concern. Really what I want to be looking at mostly with form is going to be looking at players that have played recently during the fall swing, at least multiple starts during the fall swing is going to lead to a little bit more predictability in who we are looking at for this week. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and get into the top picks and plays here for this slate. And so I just want to go ahead and get into my favorite core plays here, as well as mention just a few other players. And to me, kind of the top core play that we should be looking at on this slate is going to be Doug Gim. Doug Gim is someone that's, top ranked player in the 905 model, but also the overall model as well. But I'll also include kind of what the outright odds are saying as well. And so he ranks out number one in both of those. He's also one of the best specialists. And in case you guys are confused about that, the specialist data is just taking a look at all the unique characteristics for that week's tournament and putting it into one data point. And he's really popping up there, does really well in these kind of easier scoring tracks. Now, sure, this course might play a little bit more difficult. Courses tend to play much easier year one than in year two. We saw that with the 3M Open a decent amount now. That does happen. So, take that with a grain of salt. But he also does play well on these longer style tracks, especially in terms of players in the field. You can get him at 22-1 on most sites if you guys are looking to outright bet him as well. The form is good enough. Let's, like 27th, 22nd, or 2nd, 24th, 33rd, like just making 6 straight cuts in a row to me is pretty awesome. Played this event last year, finished 15th. Like to see that. Overall played well in Mexico in the past. So to me, guys, whether you're making DFS builds or also betting, he would be a starting point to me. So let's get Doug Gim into our builds. And then from there, we do have decent options. Like I will say, Keith Mitchell, a good staff. He's someone I could definitely see ending up on to close out a build. He's not someone I'm personally going out of my way to target. One player that I will be going out of my way to target, though, is a player that is just about as good of a stat fit, and that's going to be Jonathan Vegas. So Jonathan Vegas, we can see the form has been pretty good. He did win the 3M Open, which could play, I don't want to say similar, but like it's easier scoring track, so it's nice to see that he played well there. And all the same key stats that we kind of look at for that tournament are still going to apply here. So like birdie or better percentage, par 5 scoring, strokes gained approach, strokes gained differential. He is still popping up very well in all those categories as well. The course history that he has obviously doesn't matter because that's a different course, but event history, again, really doesn't matter to me. But it's nice to see that he's a good stat fit. First ranked player in par 5 scoring. So he has been able to take advantage of those par 5s. Love to see that. Great form, good specialist, top 7 play in the 9 to 5 mile. Happy to outright bet him. And if you are betting on him, you can get him at about 33 to 1 on FanDuel. Those are going to be the best odds there that you can find in the U.S. market. So like that there from Jonathan Vegas. Now, another player that I like is going to be Rico Hoy. I honestly don't get the pricing. Again, with a lot of golfers just not having the course history, Rico Hoy is someone that really pops. You can get him at 40 to 1 on most sites as well. He's going to be a top 10 play in the 9 to 5 mile. Great form, right? We want to be targeting that form. We want to be targeting players that have at least played during the fall swing as well. He checks those boxes for us. I mean, he played at the Zozo Championship, played well at the Shriners, played well at the Black Desert Championship. He has just been playing some good golf. 10 straight made cuts in a row for him as well. So that all bodes well for Rico Hoy. And it's kind of just one of those prices where it's acceptable click. Like it's just an easier click, honestly, at that point. And so this might be a little bit too like GPP focused. I get that. But at the same time, I think those are all going to be good enough options. Some other players that I like as well, just considering their pricing, Lanto Griffin at 7.1 to me is just a good price tag. He has been someone that, again, has played during the fall swing. He has been able to make multiple cuts during the fall swing as well. He's someone that finished 54th at this event last year. If you look at the key stats again for him, he ranks out top 30 in birdie or better percentage, strokes gained approach, and also par 5 scoring. So the key stats that we want to be looking at for this week, he does pop in those key stats. So I think Lanto Griffin's going to be a good option. And then another player, Austin Eckroat as well, just kind of at his price. And I think he's a player that value-wise makes sense. Now, I do worry maybe a little bit about the upside for him, and maybe the price tag does feel a little bit too high as well. But he's someone that finished 23rd at this event last year, top 10 in strokes gained approach, so he does set himself up for good opportunities. 4 straight make cuts in a row, does rank out as a top 4 specialist as well, so I think I'd be fine getting to him as well. Then one other value play that I want to call it, Scott Piercy. He's been playing good enough golf, at least on the PGA Tour. It's one of those weird things where I don't love looking at like Korn Ferry Tour starts because, like, honestly, we don't know where a player like Scott Piercy is at mentally when he has to go down to the Korn Ferry Tour. I think that is a part of the equation. He is someone that has played extremely well at the Mexico Open in the past as well. All top 40 or better finishes. Now, I know, again, different course and whatnot, but finished 23rd last year as well, so at least that bodes well for him. 4 straight make cuts in the PGA Tour. He is going to be a good value for us as well. And so that's kind of the base of what I'm looking at. Now, obviously, we can make some adjustments to this lineup. Let's go ahead and show you guys what the 9 to 5 lineup builder is going to tell us what the best build is going to be. And so, as always, guys, to make this run, we need to give it 2 data points to go off of. So I'm just going to round up here with some of these stats. So 118 for Ben Griffin, 122 for Max Graceman, rounding up there. And this is just going to spit out what it views as the top lineups are via the data. Doug Gim, Vegas, Rico Hoy, Patrick Fishburne, I'm fine with. It does like Neil Shipley. It tends to like Neil Shipley more than I do. Not really sure why that is. Panikazire, I think, is a great GPP option. We'll take a peek at the exposures. Very high in Rico Hoy. I don't like Neil Shipley that much. I don't like Spawn that much. But you guys kind of get the gist of what we are seeing for this week. So, guys, that's going to be all. Again, sorry for getting this video out a little bit too late to you guys. If you guys want to use the tools that you saw in this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Use the promo code KeepCashing at 20% off your first 9 to 5 membership. Do appreciate that, guys. Good luck this week. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. And if you guys want access to any of those tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. That's going to be all, guys. Thanks for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.